Hello, this is Pastor Bob at MarriageHelp.com. The lesson for today is the greatest fear of women. We have two perspectives. We look at the fear of men, we look at the fear of women, we look at how we take care of each other, and how do we meet the needs of the other. But today we're talking about the deepest needs of women. And the fear of women, according to God's Word, is the fear of being left alone and unloved. That's a very, very profound fear. And it comes from the way we're created. It's not an accident. It's not something that some former boyfriend did. It's not something a marriage partner did in a previous relationship. Or it's not something that happened because of a broken childhood. Those things can affect these things. But the fear that God put within the woman of being left alone, abandoned, possibly feeling very used, maybe even abused, but certainly unloved. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the marriage has ended. You can feel just as afraid that you're going to be left isolated, insulated from your marriage partner, where you can't talk, you can't share, he's not going to be there for you. I had a lady who had been married 49 and a half years that turned to me and said, I know that when I need my husband, 49 and a half years of history, that he's not going to be there for me when I really need him. Where's he going to be? Well, he's just not going to be there for me. I once worked with a lady that had gone through a fire and the church was putting together a whole new set of furniture and things to get her into a new apartment. And her biggest response was, no, I can't accept those things because when I really need you, you're not going to be there. But you really need these things. You need this new place. You've been burned out, and we'll still be here when we move you back into a new apartment. But you see, she was expressing that even though you may be here now, I can't believe that you're really going to be here when the next big crisis happens. Men will look at that in their wives and they'll say, that sounds silly. I told them I would love them. Why wouldn't they believe me? The point is that over and over I have asked the same questions of husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends sitting there. Which of the two of you have woke up in the middle of the night, unable to go back to sleep, worried about whether or not that other partner really, truly loves you and will continue to love you? The men always look at me with this astounded look and go, I've never thought that. Never woke up and had that problem. The women will almost always say, yeah, it was maybe even just last night. They understand that sensation, that feeling inside of dread of what's going to happen when the person that I really love and I've committed to, I've opened up and taken into my life, will not love me. Let me explain one thing to you, just so that you get a feeling for the sense that we have of this. When I ask people, which of the two of you, the husband or the wife, says I love you most frequently, they usually banter back and forth, and I get a variety of answers. But the point is, if the woman says I love you to her husband more often than the husband says it to her wife, to his wife, something is wrong in the way he is taking care of the needs of his wife. The reason why, a woman very seldom will say, I love you, without wanting to try and spur a reaction from him that will say, and I love you too, sweetheart. Yes, yeah, me too. Ditto. A man, on statistical average, should be saying to his wife 7 times more often than she says to him, I love you. And I'm always going to love you. Nothing's going to change that. Because there's something in the need of the wife that needs to hear that reinforcing statement. The needs of the woman are so urgent and so pressing that you can't simply say, well, one card once a year is not going to take care of that fear. One bouquet of flowers when you've done something stupid isn't going to take care of that fear. This is something that should be a pattern of behavior for the husband so that he understands that every single day there's going to be a requirement for him to find something to do to show, to demonstrate that he really continues to deeply, profoundly love his wife. It's the only way she can live without that fear pressing in upon her and taking the joy out of her life, removing that chance of being happy and joyful and at peace. And only when he says, I love you, only when he makes sure that she believes it, does that blackness, that fear, that shadow, is it pushed away to the outside of her life, and she can live with a smile on her face and joy in her heart because her husband has taken the time and been creative enough to find a way to say, I really, truly love you. The deepest fear of woman, the deepest fear of man are the most important things that we can discuss, but we can't always remember them. Rehearse them, practice, recall them for each other, and then watch the next video on what do we do in response to these deepest fears now that we know what they are and how do we take care of each other. You have lessons to learn on marriagehelp.com that will give you the joys of marriage and the joys of being fulfilled together. Thank you.